Shalom, shalom, giving honor and praise to the Creator and the Maker of heaven and earth. My name is Yeshaya Yisrael of the tribe of Dan of the nation of Israel. We want to talk about a very controversial subject, but it's not to be controversial. And that is the fact that the scriptures does not support cooning. Now, what do I mean by cooning is being a fool. Some people unfortunately quoted by saying Uncle Tom, whereas in truth, Uncle Tom was a black man in history named Josiah Henson, who used to free black people. So that's one of the things they try to sit there and twist up in history to try to make us think Uncle Tom was really bad for black people when he was really bad for the white man. So that's one thing to point out in that particular regard. Another thing concerning this particular matter, brothers and sisters, is this, and that is, as stated, cooning is not supported in the scriptures. Moses saw his brother getting attacked and he killed for his brother. All right, so now you can see that's a good quality of a leader of the people. All right, and correct me if I'm wrong, and I don't mean to try to take shots or disrespect or anything like that. I don't know everything. But if I can be shown where the ancient Egyptians went to war against a white man, that's to say the European, please let me know. Because I can show you history where the Israelites went to war with the Romans. The Israelites went to war with the Greeks. The Carthaginians went to war with the Romans. The people of Namibia went to war with the Romans. All right. The people of the Zulu in South Africa went to war with the British. When did the ancient Egyptians go to war with the white man? Now, why do I mention that? Is because one of the things that the so-called Kemetic community try to bash against the scriptures is in the book of Psalms when it says, happy are they that take your baby and dash the head against the stone, by saying, oh my gosh, why would you do that to a baby? It's called war. I want you to understand what that means. That means there's war. Babies get killed, women get killed, elders get killed, pregnant women get killed, men get killed, horses get killed, animals that the people are riding on, they too get killed. You understand? You see a good depiction of that, though you may have to change the color of the Persians in the movie by Oliver Stone called Alexander. That's war. That's how, when they showed you what was Gargamella, that's how war went down. People got cut up and then killed. So these are things we want to talk about. When you look at the movie that Steven Spielberg did, even called Lincoln, the very beginning of that movie showed you the Civil War when the black man was taking his fist and knocking the white man inside his face. That's war. There is nothing pretty about that. So unless you can sit there and prove that anybody from Kemet, the Black Land, or the Deshret, the Desert Land, or the Red Land, or from Tamehu or Tashmehu, or Sematawi, the unity of the two lands, if you could show me where those people went to war against the white man, and maybe they did, and I just didn't run across it. I love constructive criticism. But so far, according to my studies, the Egyptians didn't go to war against the white man. Alexander was revered as a god according to J.C. DeGraff in his book, Venice Negro Civilizations, because he actually defeated the Persians, whom the Egyptians did not like. So you see Alexander pictured up there with a god of the Egyptians. So you got to ask yourself, oh, well, the Greeks may have put that up. So when the Egyptians had some kind of clout, why did they not knock it down? The Egyptians were known for erasing people's names. The Egyptians were known for trying to take out Akhenaten name out of certain kind of records like the Saqqara or Abydos record. So why not knock down and erase the image and the aspect of the ancient people such as Alexander being pictured as a god inside of Egypt? Because they loved the white man. That's why. The ancient Egyptians were not pro-black. They were pro-Kemet, pro-Tashmehu, pro-Waset, pro-Deshret. So these are things we want to point out. Now, they try to sit there and bash against the scriptures by talking about it going to war and what they're going to do to the people. And if anybody try to attack, one brother tried to sit there and tell me online, you know, the Facebook community, if somebody tries to sit there and attack one of the women, I'm going to protect them. Well, then you will get killed with her, just like the guy did in the Zulu movie when they was going to war with the British and he tried to hold a white lady and their chief told one of the other ones to slay even their own black brothers that was fighting but progressing, was being ceased by that fool. This is war, baby. This ain't dealing with something pretty and nice and everything. Look at Abu Simbel and the pretty writing on the wall. We ain't dealing with that. This is the time in Israel called Hanukkah, when the Maccabees went against the Greeks and took back what the Greeks stole from them. This is what we're talking about right here. We're not sitting up there talking about, oh, we all going to sit down and have a big Thanksgiving feast and everybody's going to be buddy and holding hands. And the ancient Greeks used to sit there and trade grain with the ancient Egyptians, and everybody was in one big happy palisade of unison. This ain't going to happen. So now let's go into scriptures. Exodus chapter 17. We're going to start in verse 8. Amalek came and battled Israel and Rephidim. Moses said unto Joshua, choose people for us to go do battle with Amalek. Tomorrow I will stand on top of the hill with the staff of Elohim in my hand. Joshua did as Moses said to him to do battle with Amalek. And Moses and Aaron and Hur ascended to the top of the hill. So these are things that when Yisrael went to go and do war, is because war came to them. Now, let's go from there to the book of Deuteronomy, chapter 25, verse 17, so we can gain some understanding of what we're talking about. Deuteronomy, chapter 25, verse 17, and it reads on this wise, so we can gain some understanding of what we're talking about, right? And it says the following. Remember what Amalek did to you on the way when you were leaving Egypt, that he happened upon you on the way, and he struck those of you who were hindmost, all the weaklings at your rear, when you were faint and exhausted, and he did not fear Elohim. It shall be when Yah Eloheka gives you rest from all your enemies all around, in the land that Yah, your Elohim, gives you as an inheritance to possess it, you shall wipe out the memory of Amalek from under heaven. You shall not forget. So this is something we want to talk about. So it says when Israel gets rest from their enemies, don't forget Amalek. Don't forget that. Don't be a coon talking about, well, that was hundreds of years ago. No, we ain't dealing with that with the Old Testament, the word of the Most High. This is not the book that says, servants be subject to your masters with all fear. No, this is the book that says what we're going to sit there and read. Let's go into this. Let's go to Judges chapter 11 so we can gain some understanding. Judges, all right, the 11th chapter, we're going to start in verse 26 so we can gain some understanding of what we're talking about in this particular regard. Judges 11:26 says the following. While Israel dwelt in Heshbon and its suburbs, in Aroer and its suburbs, and in all the cities that were near Arnon for 300 years. Why did you not recover them during that time? All right, for 300 years, we already speaking between the book of Numbers and the book of Judges. So Exodus recording the fact that Amalek attacked Israel was less than 3 months after the Exodus. So we already speaking in the book of Judges 300 years after that particular matter. Now, let's go from there into the book, if we will. All right, make sure I got my notes correct over here. Let's go to 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 1. All right, and it says this. Shemuel said to Saul, the Most High has sent me to anoint you king over his people, over Israel. So now hear the sound of the Most High's words. So said Hashem, the Most High, I have remembered what Amalek did to Yisrael, the ambush he placed against him on the way as he went up from Egypt. Oh, hold on a second. You're telling me that God, the Most High, we're talking certainly over 300 years after, over that time, because you had the Exodus, you had the book of Numbers, that Yiftach is talking about in the book of Judges, and he mentioned 300 years. So after all the judges, Samuel being the last judge there, he anointed King Saul. So now we're talking over 300 years. The Most High said, I remember what Amalek did unto Yisrael. So these are things we want to talk about for this. And what did the God of the Old Testament tell him to do? Did he sit there and say, turn the other cheek? No, this is what Yah, the Most High, the God that the Romans hated, said this. All right. Now go and strike down Amalek and destroy everything that he has. Have no pity on him. Kill man and woman alike, infant and suckling alike, ox and sheep alike, camel and donkey alike. You know what that sounds like in modern times? The Trelawney War, when the black men in Jamaica were the Maroons going against the white British. They killed everything, the family cat included. So these are things we want to talk about. When you're dealing in war, there is no, we're going to save this one. So these are things we want to sit there and talk about for edification purposes. So now let's go, brothers and sisters, to 1 Samuel 15:24. All right. Want to make sure I had the quote cited correctly. And we are in the book of 1 Samuel chapter 15, verse 24. And it says this: Saul said to Samuel, I have sinned, for I have transgressed the word of Yah and your word, for I feared the people and I hearkened to their voice. But now, please forgive my sin and return with me, and I will prostrate myself to the Most High. So now, let's go, brothers and sisters, and continuing on. And Samuel said to Saul, I will not return with you, for you have rejected the word of Yah, and Yah have rejected you from being king over Israel. What is going on here? Saul was told to attack the Amalekites because the Most High told Samuel to tell Saul, I remember what Amalek did to Israel, my people. All right, so now let's understand this. Saul did not do it correctly. He saved some of the women. He saved the king of the Amalekites, Agag, alive, which when you read on your own, you find out that Saul hacked him into pieces. This is not a pretty sight. This is what we're talking about right here. You understand? Because like Samuel said, just as your sword made mothers bereaved in Israel, so will mothers be bereaved by my sword against you. See, we talking an eye for eye over here. This is why they don't like the Old Testament. When the Most High saw that Saul did not take vengeance against Amalek, the Most High rejected Saul, as we just read, from being king. What am I pointing out? The Most High does not like coons. You cannot sit there and talk, well, it was in the past, or I'm just this little one right here will be okay, and so forth and so on. No. Wipe everything out: man, woman, child, suckling, the ox, and the sheep. And this is something we want to point out for edification purposes. All right. Now, it says this. 1 Samuel 16 to close out. Yah said to Samuel, how long wilt thou mourn over Saul when I have rejected him from reigning over Israel? Why was he rejected from ruling over Israel? Is because you can't be a leader of the people and not taking vengeance for your people. You can't be on it. We already went over the timeline. Oh, that's over 300 years. Slavery is so long ago. Oh, why are you sitting up there worried about that now? Everything should be okay. Not according to the God of the Old Testament. Shalom.